Hey guys, welcome back to the USID videos. So today I thought I'd just give an overview of everything that I've learned about Australia and the people that live here, the culture, the history, and just some differences that I've noticed between Australia and the US.
Where are you going? I'm going to P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. If you're asking where I'm going, I'll tell you that's where I'm going. It's P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. Where? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Australia is divided up into 6 different states. I'm currently living in New South Wales in the city of Sydney. Now, this city is quite dense and quite popular. Now, what most people don't know is that 95% of Australia is actually uninhabited, which means that majority of the land most people don't live on. As you can see on this map, most people live on the very outskirts of Australia. Another interesting thing about Australia is its population size. It is significantly smaller in population compared to the United States. But when you overlay the two maps, like you see in this picture, America is not that much bigger than Australia. So, knowing that 95% of the land of Australia is uninhabited contributes to the idea that the population is much smaller compared to the US. For Australia's terrain and climate, the northern area is going to be your tropical region with warm weather, beaches, vast vegetation, and then that middle area of Australia is going to be your desert or grassland area, which is mainly uninhabited. And then for the southern region of Australia, that's going to be more of your temperate climate where you're going to experience all 4 of those seasons. Another unique thing about Australia is that they have universal healthcare called Medicare. And so in order for me to come and study abroad here, I had to get health coverage for the entire time I will be in Australia. Regarding transportation in the city of Sydney, majority of Australians do drive places, but for people like me or people on exchange who don't have cars, public transportation is a big help, as they have buses, light rails, trains, and even ferry rides that you can take all around the city. So the first people to actually live in Australia are people that are now referred to as Aboriginal people. And they were here way before the Europeans came and claimed Australia as their own. They celebrate their culture through dances and songs and paintings all along their body. The city of Sydney, Australia was first a British penal colony, founded by the English Admiral Arthur Phillipps. Convicts were placed here and forced to live here and build the first settlement. Major General Lachlan Marquis was the one who took this convict nation and turned it into the modern city that it is now. He placed great emphasis on building the very first hospital in Sydney. It was known as the Rum Hospital because its builders were allowed to export rum for resale. However, it is no longer operational as a hospital today. Half of it is currently the Parliament House, while the other half of it is called the Mint Museum. The iconic Sydney Opera House was designed by the Danish architect John Utzon. It took 14 years for it to be built, with its doors finally opening in 1973. The design of the Sydney Opera House was of that of sails of boats sailing across the water, and it was paid for by Australian citizens purchasing lottery tickets. It currently is one of the nation's busiest performing arts centers, with shows being performed daily in more than 7 venues and event spaces. All right, so some of the obvious things that are different between Australia and America are that Australians drive and walk on the left side of the road instead of the right. Their road signs are also different than ours, as their speed limit is in kilometers per hour and not miles. When it comes to food and restaurants in Australia, they really have almost every type of food you could want. They've got Chinese, Italian, Thai food, even some burger and pizza places that taste really good. However, I have yet to find a really good Mexican restaurant around here. Something that's really big in Australia is their coffee. They take a lot of pride in their coffee. Over here, Starbucks is trash. Not like to my taste buds, but to Australian taste buds, it's the worst coffee you can get. All right, regarding the Australian education system, first things first, since their seasons are flipped, their school semesters are different than ours. So currently it is my first semester of junior year in the States. But here, I say it's my second semester of my third year. They don't say freshman, sophomore, junior, senior here. They say for second and third and fourth year. And also their summer break starts at the beginning of December, and then they keep going until they reach the beginning of their fourth year or whatever year they're going into. Whereas in the States right now, I just got off summer break and I'm going to be starting school at the very beginning of my junior year. It's kind of confusing talking to Australians about this because they don't really understand that it's my first semester when it's their second. Also, people decide their major and then they take courses only regarding that major. There's no such thing as an exploratory track here. You only take courses regarding your major. So if you're a science major like I am, then you only take science courses. There's no such thing as gen ed courses in college here, especially at the University of Sydney. That's just not a thing. You're not going to see people taking English and history classes unless they're in those majors. All right, so for some of the shops and restaurants and stores that they have here in Australia that are the same or similar in America would be, for instance, their grocery stores. They've got Coles and Woolworth and Aldi. Aldi's the same as the one in America, just with Australian brands. And then Coles, Coles, is kind of like Australia's version of Strachan Van Til. And then Woolworths is kind of like Australia's version of like Jewel or Whole Foods. They also have Costco here, which is super cool. And again, like it's just Australian brands, but they do have a food court, so that's still here. And then for stores, they've got Target and a place called Kmart, which is kind of like an Australian version of a Walmart. Both of those are just kind of like on a smaller scale. Target is not that big of a thing here. It's not that great of a place. People don't just go and hang out at the Targets here like they do in America. And Kmart is kind of like a Walmart, but on a smaller scale. They've got your electronics and your kitchen supplies, cleaning supplies, bathroom supplies, dorm supplies, school supplies, stuff like that. But they don't really have food there. They do have clothes. You can get some pretty cheap clothes there, but they don't have food. And then regarding restaurants, they have actually quite a few of the same name brand restaurants here that we do in America. So for instance, they've got Pizza Hut, Domino's, Taco Bell, and a few other places. For some stores that you would think are American stores, but they have a different name to them. So for example, we have Bed Bath & Table instead of Bed Bath & Beyond, but the store still sells bedding and decorative pillows. And then we also have TK Maxx, which is like TJ Maxx, but just a different name. Well, that was majority of the stuff that I've learned about Australia while being here thus far, and a majority of the differences that I've noticed between here and America. I hope you guys liked today's video. Make sure you guys come back to the next one, and I'll talk to you later.